Hello, I'm Steph from iDriver Classic, and if you watched last week's episode of Ken the Austin A35 restoration, you'll know that we dug this out of essentially what was a little old lean-to full of wood and an Austin A35. This car hadn't moved in around about 20 years and nothing had been done with it. There was no paperwork, not really anything that came with it, and we didn't know too much about it. But God loves a trier, and we thought, well, we're going to dig it out and see what happens, because Ken's future was a little bit uncertain, and we thought, right, we're going to give him a second lease of life and get him back on the road. Now, in the last video, if you haven't watched it already, you should probably skip back and watch that first. We had a look around the outside, what we could see in the interior, inside the engine bay, and I think we even had a peek inside the boot. However, the real moment of truth is when you get underneath one of these. And we had a look of what we could get into the lean-to. And if you remember from the last video, there wasn't really much space around the car. So we had to kind of cross our fingers a little bit and hope for the best. And we said, right, when we get back to work, we'll see how bad it is. And if it's absolutely horrendous, we'll have to see what we can get done. And if it's not, well, that's good luck to us. But how bad is it really? Well, remember, on that odometer from last week's video, you'll have seen that it was on less than 40,000 miles. We didn't know if that was genuine, but we thought it might well be, because there were plenty of hallmarks that suggested it was. But has it been a hard life for this car? Well, it's moment of truth, because we're going to put that ramp up and have a look. But overall, the car looks remarkably tidy. Now, I wasn't expecting it to be this tidy at all. I thought it would go up in the air and we'd find all sorts of things and a few bits of nonsense thrown in for good measure. But actually, it's more solid than my standard 10 that I bought. So I'm only a mildly little bit bitter. Now, Paul, you've kind of gone in with me on this. And for anyone who hasn't met Paul before in previous videos, Paul is both my work colleague and my friend, and somehow we went into this together and we've decided to kind of make this our spring summer project outside of working hours, because we thought we don't have enough going on to sort out on our own cars. We'll just whittle in some sort of distraction as well. Paul, what are your first thoughts after getting the car on the ramp?
I'm really pleased with it. Really pleased with it. I think we kind of knew it was good, but there's a limit to how much you can start, looking at a car when all four tyres are flat and it's in a, barn and you're trying to drag it across a very small courtyard to get it onto a trailer. And really, that was my only interest, was to get it on the trailer. I would say that for a 70-year-old mass-produced car like this, an A35, I don't think we'd find a better one on restore. To be perfectly honest, it's absolutely superb. I mean, the sills are good, mostly good. There's very little wrong with it. There's a day and a bit probably making some nice welded repairs to it, and it'll be pretty much as good as new body lead, and then we've got to sort it out cosmetically maybe. But yeah, I'm very happy.
Let's ask a man in the know. Paul, point out your main areas of concern on this car. I'll follow you with a mic so you can just focus on pointing them out to us.
Okay, so the first bit is the end of this sill. There's the end has been sort of rotted away, and then it's been repaired crudely with repair techniques of its era, like chicken wire and plaster of Paris and such like, and the same on the other side. These, which I think are jacking points, they very rarely survive at all. In fact, Ed knows more about these cars than I do, and he says he's never seen them before. So that was, a surprise that there's anything left of those. It's got a fiberglass wing this side. I think it has been in an accident, and I wonder if the wing was part of that accident, because everything else on the car, I can't see that it would have been replaced through, needing welding repairs. Then what else have we got? We've got the bottom of that wing has been once again repaired with a bit of sort of fiberglass and whatever, but it's nothing too serious. The bottom of that door has got a few holes in, kind of standard on a car like this, and then there's a little bit of a hole in this jacking point here. There it is. Not jacking point, in this spring hanger, and that's pretty much it. For a car of this age, that's been stood for so long, you would expect it to be, far, far worse, and certainly want sills, and usually the rear quarters go on these, and all this section up the back of the rear quarter, but all the closing panels are intact. The closing panels up the front wings, which are not usually there, they're pretty much all there. It wants a little bit of a repair that side. It's really good. I'm delighted with it, really, to the point where you think you struggle to find a car as good as this. Should we even get rid of it? Should we even try and sell it? So yeah, and there's a little hole there, I think there's a little, there's a bit of chicken wire and fiberglass and whatever in there, but it's nothing serious. I'm very happy with it.
Somehow, once again, we dodge a bullet when we purchase a car. We're doing quite well at the moment this year. What's come into the workshop this year? We've had Ed's ADO estate, which you've already seen. We've had this come in, and then Ed bought his lovely wife a little Japanese key car? So we've all done quite well so far. I guess third time luckiest, because for £650, this is really quite the bargain. And I think this is the thing, is sometimes you've got to think, don't judge a book by its cover, because when we got there and I saw it sitting in that barn and it didn't have a bonnet on, and in my head it had a bonnet on, I thought this is going to be an absolute horror show, and actually we've got it back and it's doing all right. And so I should probably tell you what's going to happen next, is that the next thing that we want to do is, because we need to make a bit of a plan of all the things that we need to do. And so we know roughly where we are in terms of bodywork. So the next thing that we want to do is try and get the engine started, because once we've established the fundamentals of everything, we're then going to put together a bit of an action plan of what we do. And we're going to share that with you as well. And roughly what we think, a bit of an estimate of what we think it's going to cost and how much time it's going to take as well. Because if you're looking to take something like this yourself, I want you to go at it with a bit of confidence and think, well, I watched those guys and they were really honest, and they told me how long they took and how much money they spent, and all the things that they considered. And we go at it with a bit more of an honest perspective than some of the TV shows that I watch sometimes. And I feel like screaming at the screen and saying, you're acting like that's such a small job and it's quite a big one, or you're making that look like an absolute meal, and actually it's really not that much for trouble at all. And sometimes things get hyped up or hyped down for the situation. I think that it can make the whole experience look quite disingenuous, and so that's one of the things that we want to do with this, a little bit like we did with the standard 10, is be completely honest with you. In terms of my skill set, I'm very junior in terms of what I can do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you some of the skills that are perhaps the things that you might do if you are a junior or you're an apprentice, and I'll be doing those skills, whereas Paul will be taking on the more advanced skills. However, it will be working as a team together on this. So in our next video that you're going to watch, you're going to see us try and get the engine started. Now, if you remember from the first video, we used the starting handle to crank it out the garage, and so we already know that the engine isn't seized. So there's no jeopardy there whatsoever. So we're going to see what we can do with that and see how bad that is. So I guess from us today, I hope you've really enjoyed having a look under the car. We're really pleased with it. I hope you're really pleased with it, because it was £650. That is like nothing nowadays in terms of going out and buying a project. And again, don't judge a book by its cover. Let's all get stuck into this together, and fingers crossed that that engine is just as happy as the underside of the car. But until next week, when we see each other again and we find out what that engine sounds like, or if it will even run at all, take care and drive safely.